plus million players worldwide. Window is also highly rated at 4.5 stars on the App Store and 4.4 on Trustpilot. You can get up to $10 when you download using my link in the description, or just simply scanning the QR code on the screen. And for more ways to make money, the referral program gives you $2 real per friend referred. So with the unlimited options to make money on Window, you should sign up with the link in the description or the QR code on the screen. And thank you to Window for sponsoring this video. All right, guys. So this video. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it. Builds are going to cost the same amount. We have to know once we load up the game. So we will see. But I know that a lot of people, I don't know what happened. Something must have went viral on TikTok, but there has been hundreds of people asking, are builds going to be $20? They're not going to be $20, bro. Trust me, they're not. Anyway, we got some info on the season pass, and it says 2K26 Pro Pass Season 1 takes your My Career and Myteam experience to the next level, blah, blah, blah. The Pro Pass unlocks access to 40 levels of earnable premium rewards, including up to 45,000 VC. As you progress through the season on your way to level 40, you get the Season 1 Pro Pass and automatically receive a tactical bear helmet, a desert camo quilted jacket, and an amethyst Kevin Durant Myteam card and a Season 1 Pro Pack. So, for us park players, you get a bear helmet and a camo quilted jacket for buying that pass. Now, of course, there's going to be more things inside of it, but we've seen in Chico Philo's video right here where he played cash out on a 7'4" post score in the 1v1 tournament. It looks like he has a 5 next to his name, his level. So there's probably going to be rookie 1 through 5 again, superstar 1 through 5. I know some people are going to be upset about that because they want to see 1 through 3. It doesn't really matter as much to me. What I care about is if the rewards are good or not. That is where I care. We need to find out. We still don't know where a lot of these cap breakers are going to be unlocked, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so this guy asked Mike Wing, something you could consider when doing a momentum dribble or misdirection is to make the control either with or without turbo the whole time. Having to flick the right stick and then have to hold turbo and flick the left stick seems really awkward to do. Mike said without turbo, we'll give you the signature size ups. With turbo, we'll give you your escape moves. The momentums aren't too hard once you get the hang of it, and they're supposed to be pretty advanced moves. I love Mike Wayne giving a professional PR trained response right there, basically saying, get better, buddy. It's an advanced move. It's supposed to be a little bit more difficult than most dribble moves, okay? Just like how they brought back the new misdirection, well, not the new misdirection, but the moves from like 2K23 and 2K24 that I've told you guys is the hardest moves to do in the game. They're not super hard to do, but they are definitely the hardest to trigger and consistently do into a combo. I'm glad that they are back. I'm glad that 2K is wanting some sort of skill gap in the dribbling this year. We will see. So anyway, I'm going to give you guys a long story short because this tweet went crazy. And as you all see right here, it is Steph Curry greening a shot over LeBron. You don't need to see the video. LeBron jumped early, and then Steph did a very quick release shot that was a green, and it basically was open. Cinco said, hand down when Steph got to the peak of the shot. That's open. Please don't change this contest system. Mike said, if a defender jumps early and you shoot just as he's about to land or just landed, his defensive impact drops considerably even if he's very close to you. I like that a lot. If you all watch it in, regular speed, you would have seen that clip and be like, But if you just watch it again, pause at the release of the shot, it makes sense, and I'm glad 2K is doing this with the shot contest system so far. We seen an ankle breaker the other day where a guy got dropped to the ground in one of our previous videos. He was right next to the guy with the ball who took the shot, and it said open, open. In previous 2Ks, sometimes you would drop someone, they're on the ground, you take a jump shot and it'll give you like a lightly contest or even a tight contest. which is crazy. So at the moment, the contest system is looking better in 2K26, but of course things will probably change, so we gotta wait on that. All right, so check out these post go-to shots. Guys, I slept on these. Like, how many of them are going to be viable online? Like, it might catch you off guard once in the game, of course, and then you'll probably know it's coming. That LeBron look is ridiculous. But the women one is, as you guys know, if you've seen yesterday's video, only for 6'9" and under. But man, the post go-tos look really good. Really, really good, especially that Kyrie one, man. Anyway, we have a pretty big tweet here because a 2K employee, a longtime employee, Dazar, responded to it. And anyway, let's just read it. So, Heck said, 2K attempts to the meta every year to keep things fresh and so that it doesn't feel like the same game every year. 2K25's ideal didn't work. That's not Sim or Com's fault that a miscalculation by the devs that decided to create the game. Y'all on the internet waffling and pointing fingers for the sake of rage bait and willful ignorance. As someone who doesn't care about who plays in which way, I encourage you to quit the nonsense. And Dazar said, thoughtful statement, I would take it a step further. The new technology set the direction for how 25 felt. In year 2, 2K26, and Team has more tools and deeper implementation of new engine, which allows them to customize the text to fit the type of game that community wants. That's basically it.
Save money with Snapshot ProView. Instant savings on your commercial auto insurance and vehicle management tools at no extra cost. Snapshot ProView. Get a personalized rate for your business.
So Dazar has talked about before how the first year it's new. It's got issues. It's a yearly release game. The second year they work on it better, and he usually says by the third year is when it's like really good. They got it down and they move on to other technology and stuff. So I thought maybe you guys would just want to see that right there. So real quick, let's just talk about my first build in 2K25. You guys see, it was called my first NBA 2K25 build. It's not called the greatest build. It's not called the best build ever. It's not going to get you lows. However, I'm going to name probably something really similar to that for my first 2K26 build video. I do not know about the game. I have not played it. It is not going to be titled anything crazy. I want you guys to watch the video. I'm telling you right now, please, when you click on it, I'm just going to show you the build right away probably, or tell you where to skip it if you want to see it right away. But please, guys, do not copy my build unless you really, really want to. But what I recommend is you use them as a template, okay? I play and I make builds for all types of modes. Sometimes I make a build for everything, an all-around build. Sometimes I make just a 2v2 build. Sometimes I make a build that's good for 2v2 and 3v3. Sometimes it's 1v1. You see what I'm saying? So listening to why I made what I created is going to help you a lot. If you just go, oh, I know Badge is a good player, I'm going to make his build, and you don't play what mode I made the build around, well, you could have made this build a little bit better. Use my build as a template to create what you want. I think that's going to save you a lot of time if you want, right? Use it as a template. Go, okay, he's got this much pass accuracy. I want a little bit more. I'm going to drop this stat because I play Rec 5v5 or I play Conan 5v5 and I want to have a little bit more sizzle on my pass. You know what I'm saying? But guys, I just wanted to let you know in advance that once again, I do not know the best build. However, I'm going to do my absolute best because I'm also spending money on the build to give you from all the information we have gathered so far from creators playing the game, spinning the builder, from the max plus one, max plus two, a good build. All right. Now I told you guys the reason why I have not made a build video yet because you really can't. You know, 2K26's builder is basically the exact same as 25. It's very entertaining. But the reason why I have not made a build video is because we don't know where we're going to get all these max plus 1s and max plus 2s. We know we're going to get one max plus 1 and one max plus 2 in the build specialization. My guess, very easy guess, is we're going to get a max plus 1 in the season pass, but are we going to get a max plus 2? We don't know yet. Hopefully we see tomorrow in the city reveal. We should see some more information about that. But then there's a third one. Where did you get the third one? It's probably in the Legends run. We don't know. There's also cap breakers that we don't know of yet. As you guys see from one of the recent reveals, it says cap breakers can be earned from build specialization quest lines, season rewards, level rewards, and some other ways that we can't talk about just yet. So, I believe my first build is going to be made around only 2 cap breakers, guys, and that is the build specialization one. Because I look back at last year, and I hit my starter 3 like 11 days into the game. But of course, when the game first comes out, it's my job. I'm playing it all day. It took me all day of playing and winning at a high rate to be able to get that. It's going to take most people maybe 30, 60 days to get that first set of cap breakers. So I'm going to show you guys probably my first build, and then also if you want a build around, you know, like 7 cap breakers, for example. But again, I do not know what's best, blah, blah, blah. I've already said it, you guys understand. I'm not trying to say like I'm above other creators because look at me, I'm not posting a build video. I'm letting you guys just know that I don't really have enough information yet to feel comfortable with giving you guys a build video. Tomorrow, after this city information, most likely I can give you a build video before 2K26 comes out. I've already labbed up 2 different builds, okay? But I want to wait to see where we get a few more of these max plus 1s and stuff, alright? I hope that wasn't too much yapping. I know you guys love the yap sessions that have been here for a long time. The newer people, they think that they're joining in on a hate train when they say yapping and you guys actually like it. But anyway, let's continue further, alright? So, you might want to screenshot this. Pausing it really isn't going to do anything. It's not going to make you remember properly. But here is every takeover in 2K26. Shout out to I think it's Hippopotamus in the bottom right for this little graphic that he made where you can see all the requirements that you need, all the new takeovers. They kind of changed them up a little bit. Insurgent, Glue, I don't think was one. Crasher is a good one. Yeah, so there's 2 or 3 new ones. They've changed the requirements a little bit, and they've also cut them down from last year. You guys know, they said there was like 22 takeovers last year, and now there's like 11 or something like that. So, let's talk about gameplay for a minute, because, you know, Solo was on Twitter talking about we need to buff plus, and, bro, we haven't seen it yet. Calm down, let's play the game real quick. Anyway, Block said on Twitter, Pluck animations being pretty much out of the game is major, and I don't see why people don't like it. Just because you have a high skill rating doesn't mean you can Pluck skill animations frequently. You can the animations where you're stuck. Someone hits the button and you're stuck, there's nothing you can do. Just like having a high ball handle won't always break a defender. High skill ratings will still get fast swipes and blitz animations. My Queen already confirmed that. It's going to take more skill to be a real defender this year and not rely on animation. Good lockdowns will be much more noticeable this year, and I'm here for it. We're going to see who really got this. I like this a lot. Style starts with the difference between mid and next level, the real gold chain that hits. Lifetime guarantee. With a 36,000 5-star reviews and a free chain every new quarter.
Spot unsafe site. Reported the problem.
Bro, you're ass, bro.
Calm for built-in malware protection.
Bro, why are you guarding my man? Go.
We talked about this, guys. I'm like, here, I have a
Bro, you
99
fucking
perimeter
up, bro.
gold,
You fucking
low
up.
steel, and
You
my
fucking up, bro.
6'6"
You fucking
LP
up, bro.
copper. I get bumpy. I get real stops. I don't spam and try to get lucky. Now
Yeah,
look,
I get real
I'm
stops,
not
man.
saying that if you reach at the right time, you know what the finger's going from his left side to the right side, you shouldn't get a steal. Nothing like that.
Look
We
at
want
you, bro.
both
Come
sides of the
on, my
court to be
dude.
fair and overpowered.
Can't make a bucket.
You know, 19
You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta keep saving you and shit,
that
bro.
is where every build was useful.
Bro,
Every
you
play
can't
style
shoot with
was
this
useful.
nigga Oscar Robertson, bro. You
So,
need to, like,
I do like that
you need to switch that shit the fuck up, bro. See how I'm playing defense? Play that D, bro. Stop playing the game, bro.
That's the meta in
Trash, bro.
2K25.
Come on, bro.
It's not about, I know,
I'm encouraging you.
injury.
I'm encouraging you, bro.
I reached through the ball and I didn't get a steal. No. In this game, 2K25.
Come on, bro. You getting beat, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Do not even play defense, but
come on, bro.
Go for a steal. That's not real basketball at all. Well, I'm glad that the game is going to be
Oscar Robertson
and just 3 all day. We're going to really see who's actually good at defense. Now, this is important to keep in mind something you might also want to screenshot. Some said things to know when shooting a tall guard height and making the build. 6'6" gets both gold handles and gold lightning launch. Can specialize in playmaking max +2 both to have both legend handles and lightning launch. Also higher speed of ball. 6'7" is 1 inch taller. It gets gold handles and silver lightning launch. Can specialize in playmaking max +2 to have legend handles and Hall of Fame lightning launch. Also higher ball handle than 6'8". So in the middle. 6'8", you're taller. You get silver handles and silver lightning launch. So that's going to give you Hall of Fame info more freely. You can use other max +2s more freely, like grabbing legend set shot, for example. 6'9", you're losing out on the good momentum cross animation at 85 ball handles, but keeps 75 speed with ball for the good dribble style. Still gets all the good animations at 80 ball handle, but loses out on silver handles for days. Could max +2 this to gold still, looking like you can't go wrong with any height this year since the gameplay complements all heights this year. So just keep that in mind going in to 2K26, guys. Alright? And remember, if you want a stream tomorrow, 5,000 likes. If not, just like in the first gameplay reveal when we didn't hit that goal, I will just make a video for y'all. You know what I'm saying? But the last like 3 times, ever since you guys, I guess most people understood that I'm not streaming if it doesn't hit that goal. You guys have destroyed it. And I'm just saying, I'm not like fetching for likes. Oh my god, I have to have as much likes as possible. I'm just going off if people really want to see it or not. You know, show me that you want to see it and I will be live for it. But guys, if you didn't see yesterday's video, click right here, tap right here. There's a lot of 2K26 news and information. The game is coming out soon. It might even save you money, just like some of the information did today in the Manager T. Sportsbook and Casino. Install and go.
This is every NBA team's realistic chances at the title, and I'll be giving each squad a letter grade for how realistic that shot title actually is. So let's begin right down at the bottom, and it's here in the F tier where I have 3 teams: the Brooklyn Nets, Washington Wizards, and the Utah Jazz. Now, all 3 of these teams are still very deep into their rebuilds. They've got some intriguing young talent making their way through, and there are definitely signs of progress when you look closer. But when it comes to actually competing for the championship this season, these 3 teams are just simply not even close to being in a position just yet. Now, that certainly doesn't mean the future isn't bright, because each of them is laying down the foundation to one day be at that close stage. But for right now, they're just too far away to be considered serious threats for a title run. Now we move on to the next tier, the D tier. Here I have 5 teams: the Bulls, Hornets, Suns, Kings and the Pelicans. Now, on the surface, these teams are certainly better than the ones we just talked about in the FT. But by better, I really just mean that they're more competitive. And in a strange way, that's actually not the good thing. Charlotte at least does still have a young core that could break out and change their future. But the Chicago, New Orleans, Sacramento, and Phoenix, the truth is there really isn't much to be excited about. Those four teams are all stuck in the middle, which is honestly the worst place to be in the NBA. You're not good enough to be a real contender, but you're also not bad enough to bottom out and actually land the kind of draft picks that can change a franchise. And for me, that's what makes the D tier the worst possible spot. At least with the F tier, you know what these teams are trying to do. They're tanking, setting themselves up for the future. But with these teams, they're just confusing, lacking any kind of a direction, as it's very difficult to see what these teams are actually trying to do. Now, moving into the C tier, I have three teams: the Boston Celtics, Indiana Pacers, and the Portland Trailblazers. For Boston and Indiana, they're here for the exact same reason. Their best player suffered an Achilles tear, and will now have to miss the entirety of this upcoming season. And surprisingly, Portland's here for a very similar reason as well, waiting on the return of Damian Lillard, who suffered the same injury, although their situation as a whole is a little different. Because even if Portland are fully healthy, that team just isn't realistically good enough to be a championship player. For the Celtics, this really feels like a gamble. They had to tear down a massive part of their championship course, trading away Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis to Portland and Atlanta. And in return, they landed Anthony Simon and Georges Niang, though Niang isn't even on the team anymore. That's how big the turnover has been in Boston this offseason. But they also signed Luka Garza and Josh Minot, both from Minnesota. The way I see it, Boston's plan is really clear. Boost the value of these young guys to flip them into something much bigger when Jason Tatum returns. Or perhaps these guys could turn into a strong supporting cast, helping them attack the 2026-2027 season head on. But in the meantime though, this year is going to tell us a lot about Jaylen Brown. He's actually going to be the legitimate first option for the first time in his career. And for years, people have argued that he might actually be the better of the two J's. Well now, he has the chance. For Indiana, it's a bit more painful. They not only lose Halliburton to the Achilles injury, but they also failed to re-sign Miles Turner, who ended up leaving for their rival Milwaukee Bucks. And that one just really stinks, because unlike Boston, the Pacers were set up and ready to compete in the East for at least 3 to 4 more seasons. Boston's salary cap situation was a lot harder, meaning even if Tatum didn't get hurt, they would have had to get off of Porzingis and anyway. But for the Pacers, this season feels like a complete and utter waste of time. Think about it, they just lost a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Then their best player goes down and now has to basically sit out the entirety of next season with nothing to show for. Indiana hasn't made any moves, and really it's just waiting for Halliburton to return. Really just throwing away this upcoming season, trying to make another run at it when they're all fully healthy. But the loss of Miles Turner is really going to make that pretty difficult, as it's just a heartbreaking situation for that franchise. And finally, we've got the Blazers, and their situation isn't nearly as devastating. They built a pretty solid young group, and with the Damian Lillard homecoming, there's a sense of optimism at Portland right now. But for me, this season has to be all about experimentation. Test out the young guys, give them as many real minutes as humanly possible, and figure out exactly what we've got in this roster. Because while they're certainly not going to be winning the West anytime soon, they do have a chance to build something sustainable for when Dame is fully healthy. Now,
boo-boo ass nigga.
Okay, Fred. Are you with me?
Boo-boo ass nigga. Thought shit was sweet out here, huh?
Looking good today?
Thought shit was sweet out here, off. Thought she was sweet out here, huh?
Or primary progressive forms of MS, choose Ocrevus de novo.
Thought she was sweet out here, huh?
Reducing relapse in RMS and slowing disability progression.
Ah, lucky ass nigga.
Given 2 times a year in a 10-minute injection. Don't receive it if you've been
That shit ain't doing nothing. Dumbass nigga about to run out of bounds. About to run out of bounds, ass nigga, man. Fuck out of here, nigga. Trash. Know the fuck you talking to, nigga? The aunties, nigga.
Such as injection reactions and effects.
Know the fuck you talking to, nigga? The aunties, nigga. Shout out my mama, nigga. Doing all that dumb shit. Doing all that dumb shit. Going nowhere. They gonna be jail. Shout out to aunties, nigga. We can go bucket for bucket. They gonna be jail. Yeah, what you doing? Shout out to shout out to aunties, nigga. Trash.
Last season, they finished right at 500, 41 and
Boo Boo Sale. Shout out my Johnny Manziel, nigga. Yeah. Yeah. Trash ass nigga. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I like that. I like that. That's what I'm here for. Oh yeah.
Another massive issue Orlando had last season was figuring out how to share the touches between Carlos
Oh yeah. Oh, got him.
Now he's traded for another high usage guy.
That shit was sweet. That shit was sweet. Boo Boo ass. Boo Boo ass. We go bucket for bucket. You heard? Shout out to aunties. Shout out to aunties. That shit gonna fail you when it's time to get money. And I love it. That shit gonna fail you when it's time to get money, baby. And I love it. Yeah. Shout out to aunties. You getting a steal, nigga.
Averaging 26 points per game without being careful.
Oh shit! I like it. You ain't gonna score though. Boo Boo ass nigga, I told you. Told you, Boo Boo ass nigga. I told you, Boo Boo ass nigga. I told you, Boo Boo. That's all. I told you, Boo Boo ass nigga. You scared now? Shout out Johnny Man. Johnny Man. Shout out Johnny. Shout out Johnny. Shout out Johnny. Shout out Johnny Man. Johnny. Shout out Johnny, nigga. You fucked up.
That for me, practically a ceiling. They're going to be competitive, sure, but at the best, I think they're just going to be that just doesn't have enough juice.
Nigga fucked up.
We have this 76, and honestly, I think they might be
Johnny Manziel.
their range of outcomes.
Johnny.
Worst case scenario,
Shout out my boy Johnny. Fuck you gonna do, nigga? Fuck you gonna do? Boo Boo as hell, you know. On Johnny Manziel. Yeah. Yeah. Get that shit the fuck out of here. Oh shit. Oh shit. I like it. I'll lose off those. I'll take those. I'll lose off those. I'll take those. Johnny.
He's still on the roster, but he's already sustained another injury and is doubtful to be available.
That nigga David Robinson was out here putting the moves on.
It could really slow down. So ranking Philadelphia is such a tough call. And then Paul George could come back and look good, or we get a repeat to last season. They could legitimately finish anywhere, but I think I'm sticking with them being a middle of the road team here at 6+, just feels about right. Now let's look at the Toronto Raptors, and I actually think this group is going to be more competitive than they were last year. The first reason why I think this is pretty simple. The addition of Brandon Ingram, who has been an all-star level player for really his entire career so far, as long as he stays healthy, which is the big hit. And then that leads into the second reason, and that's health again. Last season, Toronto just couldn't keep their main guys on the floor together for any real amount of time, and it did hold them back. I think if they stay healthy, we could see some development from Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly, and Brandon Ingram as a trio, and I think they could do some damage in a weakened Eastern Conference. But I also think the fit could be a little clunky, so we just have to wait and see. Now we move on to the B tier, which is absolutely loaded with teams. So to kick it off, I have 5 teams sitting in the B- range. The Bucks, Pistons, Hawks, Spurs, and Grizzlies. Starting off with Milwaukee, I really think they are being slept on. From the outside looking in, sure, their roster feels a bit thinner, but what's really being overlooked is just how good that front court is going to be with Miles Turner next to Giannis. On both ends of the floor, that's a scary duo. And what's more interesting about this team is how quickly they're shifting in their identity. Just a couple of seasons ago, Milwaukee was one of the oldest teams in the NBA, but now they've gotten far younger, and they've got some pieces that could quietly develop into real contributors. If those guys can take a step this season, then I think the Bucks could be in a much better situation than people think. Of course, that's not guaranteed, which is why I have them here at a B-. But with Giannis still putting up MVP level numbers, Milwaukee are always going to be a dangerous team once the playoffs begin. Now to Detroit, and this is one of the craziest stories from the whole of last season. The Pistons came completely out of left field and tripled their win total from the previous year. Literally the only team in NBA history to ever pull that off. Cade Cunningham took the superstar leap and put himself in the conversation as a top 10 player in basketball. And the way Detroit closed out last season was seriously impressive. If they can carry that kind of momentum into this year, pushing 50 wins isn't out of the question. Add to that the return of Jay Knight, who averaged over 17 points per game, and the backcourt between he and Cunningham would be one of the very best in basketball. Defensively, the team's loaded as well, with guys like Asura Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren forming a strong defensive backbone. I expect them to be really tough on that end, while being good enough offensively to win a ton of games in the East. Next up, I've got the Atlanta Hawks. They had one of the more aggressive off-seasons of any team, and I think it's going to pay off. Bringing in Kristaps Porzingis gives Trae Young the best pick-and-roll or pick-and-roll partner he's had for his entire career. KP isn't just a floor-spacing big man, he is a legit shooter from way out, and that's going to completely open up the floor in a massive way. Then you look at Dyson Daniels, who was last season's most improved player and had a real case for the defensive player of the year as well. And all of that makes him the perfect backcourt partner for Trae, balancing out Trae's offense with Dyson's elite defense. The return of Jalen Johnson will also be a big boost, while adding guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Luke Kennard gives them reliable contributors coming off the bench, something they really didn't have last year. All in all, this Hawks team looks far better on paper, but the key is going to be health. KP and Johnson need to stay on the ball, and Trae Young has to rediscover his scoring efficiency to go along with his amazing playmaking. If all of that clicks, I think Atlanta could make a run similar to what Indiana just did, but until we actually see it, I've got them in the B- range. Now, let's take a look at the San Antonio Spurs, one of the most exciting young teams in the NBA right now. In my opinion, they have the brightest future in the NBA right now, but I just don't think their time is just yet. The best case scenario is that Wemby plays like a top 3 candidate for MVP, and they sneak into that 5 or 6 seed range in a brutal Western Conference. But realistically, I just don't think they're ready to push much further than that. This season is going to be about figuring out whether the Spurs are ready to start competing now, or if they still need a year or two to let that talent fully develop. The Wemby-De'Aaron Fox pairing has potential to win a game on any night, but chemistry does take time, and those younger role players still need to prove that they can be consistent. Their time is coming, but I just don't think it's going to be next season. But make no mistake, San Antonio are still good enough to be a B- team. Then finally, I have the Memphis Grizzlies, probably the least exciting out of these 5, and also probably the worst. They made a splash this off-season, trading away Desmond Bain in return for 4 first-round picks. And because of that, I think their name is going to pop up in rumors as we approach the trade deadline. I believe Memphis could absolutely go out and use those picks to trade for another star. But the real question with Memphis next season is far bigger than that. Do they actually believe in Ja Morant and the Jaren Jackson Jr. Or has it ran its course? Health has been a real issue with that tandem, as we saw them go as high as the 2 seed in the West, while also finishing as the 8 seed like they did last season. But no matter the seeding, Memphis has been constantly eliminated early in the playoffs. So I think this season has to be the year when Memphis figures out exactly whether or not they're good enough to compete in the West. And if not, I'd expect a retool to be happening over the offseason. Now, let's move on to the B team. And here, I have 3 teams sitting at a B flat: the Warriors, Lakers, and Mavericks, and then one team a step above as the club, the Clippers. Starting off with Golden State, even though their off-season has basically been on pause since it started because of the Jonathan Kuminga contract situation, I still think they do belong for sure. They probably missed out on the position, but the difference maker has already arrived, Jimmy Butler. Before Jimmy showed up, Golden State were hanging on with a 113.9 offensive rating, a bottom 15 free throw rate, and just a .7 net rating. Absolutely a mediocre team. But with him, those numbers skyrocketed up to a plus 9.6 net rating in the 99th percentile free throw rate, and an offense clicking at 117.8 points per 100. Numbers of a legitimate championship rate. And then when Jimmy Butler and Steph shared the floor, things got even scarier offensively, all the way up to 120.9 points per 100. Then to simple it down even more, Golden State has a 23-7 all-time record with Jimmy Butler. And that isn't a fluke, because he patched every hole the team had before his arrival. From perimeter defense to half-court creation, he did it all without stepping on Steph. Oh, actually making Curry better. Very quickly, it became one of the cleanest duos in the league. And even if this team is older and has some regular season hurdles, do you really want to come up against Steph and Jimmy healthy in a 7-game series? Absolutely not. Now the Lakers. On paper, LeBron and Luka together still feels like a 2K fantasy trade, but it's
come on, bro. You want to win or what? Come on, bro. We got to play together, bro.
Offensively, they'll be fine. Luka, LeBron, really cannot. But the concerns come on the other end. Who exactly is their defensive stopper? Ayton hasn't proven he can be that guy, and Marcus Smart, the guy they brought in to be that defensive guy, really hasn't been able to stay healthy in years. Still, Luka is gearing up for a better season, reportedly getting into the best shape of his life, which is just crazy, because even an L-shaped Luka was still better than 99% of the NBA last season, averaging 28 night on 53% effective field goal shooting in the purple zone. Pair that with LeBron heading into year 23, and this team is far from bad, but defensively, they do have some question marks that need to be answered. Then we have the Dallas Mavericks. On paper, they do look like a contender, but the gap between their ceiling and what is so wide. If Kyrie comes back healthy and Anthony Davis is healthy as well, then they could easily push under the 80. But if Kyrie doesn't come back, or is not quite himself, along with Anthony Davis struggling with injuries, then this team could really fall below the But for right now, the biggest thing to build about guys. Super Flag is going to be the focal point here, with Dallas planning to throw him into as many uncovered spots as possible early in the season. And the main spot they may find out in is as the team's point guard. As head coach Jason Kidd did this with Giannis back in Milwaukee and hopes to have similar results here with Super Flag. Defensively, with Anthony Davis at the 4, alongside Lively and Gafford at the 5, this team could be elite. But offensively, their lack of three-point shooting is going to be a major issue. In the 9 games Anthony Davis played in Dallas last year, they averaged just 10.93 made a game. That's worse than the league's worst three-point shooting team, the Orlando Magic. That has to improve next year. The good news is that Kyrie should be back later in the season, and if he can stabilize things quickly, Dallas could make a real run. And finally, I have the Clippers in at a B+. No team was busier this offseason than the Clippers. They retained James Harden, added Brook Lopez, traded for John Collins, signed Chris Paul and signed Bradley Beal for just $11 million after his Suns buyout, which is insane value. Beal just never really fit in with the Suns, averaging 17 a game on 56% true shooting. But next to James Harden, he's going to get more touches and in rhythm. The addition of John Collins gives them an athletic 4, and Zubac quietly had a career year. 16.8 points, 12.6 rebounds, 1.6 blocks, and 6th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Then, adding Brook Lopez gives them 48 minutes of solid center play, fixing one of their biggest weaknesses last year. Kawhi still looks like the guy when he's healthy, averaging 25 points a game on 60% true shooting in that first round series against the Nuggets. And for James Harden, it remains steady with 22.8 points a game, along with 5.8 rebounds and 8.7 assists on 50% effective field goal shooting. The question though with the Clippers is health. They're an old team that simply cannot afford to grind late in the regular season. So banking wins early in the year is going to be absolutely crucial. But if they're healthy, this roster has tremendous upside, and that's why they sneak above the rest at a B+. Now we're getting into the cream of the crop. And these are the 6 teams that I see as true title contenders with a very real chance to go all the way. Starting off at the A- range, I've got the New York Knicks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's go with the Knicks, who I think are simply going to be better next year. Part of that is just chemistry and continuity after trading for Karl Anthony Towns in training camp of last season. But also, the roster moves they made will also take them up another level, adding Gershon Yabusele from Philly and Jordan Clarkson from Utah addresses a glaring weakness from last season, a lack of bench depth. Now, yes, Knicks fans, I could already hear you in the comments saying that he did have a bench, but Tibbs just wasn't using it. And while that is a fair assessment, the reality is the bench wasn't actually that good anyway. But this season, it's a completely different story. A second unit featuring Miles McBride, Clarkson, Yabusele, and Josh Hart, who I think should be coming off the bench to run the ball and push the pace in those bench considerations, is overall a much stronger group to support the loaded starting 5 of Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, and likely Mitchell Robinson. Then when you factor in the system that Mike Brown wants to implement, which sees the Knicks leaning into their versatility, upping the pace, and overall sharing the offensive load a bit more, then that could be exactly what New York needs. Too often last year, they fell into the Brunson-centric attack, and as good as he is, it did make them very predictable. So, spreading the offense around the Bridges, OG, and Towns makes them far more dangerous, because now the defense can't just lock on to one guy. Defensively, the Knicks were a problem in the playoffs after struggling in the regular season, and if they can carry that elite defense from day one, you look at a team that could really push for 50 wins in the East. Brunson once again finished top 10 in MVP voting, and with Karl Anthony Towns alongside of him, New York has a foundation that's really going to get stronger. Then we have Minnesota, the other A- team. This group isn't drastically different from last season, but the biggest change is the loss of Nickeil Alexander-Walker and how they try and replace his production. Alexander-Walker gave them great perimeter defense, some ball handling, and solid shooting, all on a high level to come off the bench. So filling that role won't be easy to fix. But I do really like what we saw from Terrence Jr., especially in the conference finals against the Thunder last postseason. So much so that I think he can carve out a consistent offensive role alongside of Jalen Clark and Rob Williams. The rest of the roster, though, is still intact, but the key is Anthony Edwards. His next step has to come as a playmaker. Scoring has never been an issue, but in that Sunday series, his decision-making was exposed. Defense was getting him up, he couldn't process quick enough, and his production then fell off. If he makes strides as a steady, smart playmaker, he could unlock a new level to the Warriors offense. Because let's be honest, defensively, I think they're already championship caliber with Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniel holding down the ball. The title hope really rests on Edwards becoming a complete offensive superstar, as he needs to take that playmaking leap. Now, let's move into the A-tier proper, and here I have the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Houston Rockets. For Cleveland, I have them ranked as the highest Eastern Conference team, even above New York, because I don't think last year's second round exit was about choking. It was certainly more to do with injuries, as notably Darius Garland and DeAndre Hunter were all backed up. A fully healthy Cavs team should absolutely expect to be in the conference finals this season. Donovan Mitchell is playing an MVP level, but the guy that I think is taking them to the next stage is Evan Mobley. He already won the Defensive Player of the Year last season, while also averaging 18.5 points per game, and I think that could jump up to about 23 points per game this season, which would be massive. If that happens, he becomes their best player, and some people already think he is. And you've got Darius Garland, who finally had a healthy season and was able to make All-Star. And at times, he had stretches where he was Cleveland's best player. And that's the beauty of this Cavs team. They have multiple guys who can all look like their number one option for a stretch of the season. Offensively, they were the best team in the league, and defensively, they still hovered around the top 10. So it is an off place to see next year. They need to prioritize being a top 5 defensive team, especially if they're going to win a championship. Then there's Houston with Kevin Durant now in the mix. This team is now completely ready to compete. Last year, they were already the 2 seed in the West with 52 wins. And that came to their a true go-to score. KD instantly fixes that. Their defense was elite and carried them to many close games. But they lacked that close. Despite that, Houston still won 69% of their clutch games, which is impressive. But now, he's got a late possession for Durant, and that just changes everything. This alone could push them to 60 this season. And then when you add in the leap I expect from Amanda Thompson, plus the steady pieces like Manley, Shandu, Easton, Finney-Smith, Ethan Adams, and Capella, and they truly have all the pieces needed to go all the way. Now, finally, in the A+ tier, the 2 absolute best teams coming in next season are the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. The Thunder just pulled off one of the most impressive championship runs we've seen in modern history. And the crazy part is, I think they're going to be even better this season. They managed to keep their entire championship core intact, which is incredibly rare in the league. And that chemistry alone makes them better. Then the big X factor is going to be Chet Holmgren. He battled injuries last season, fracturing his hip and having to miss a massive chunk of the regular season. And then when he came back, his mobility just was not the same. But if he's able to fully recover, getting back to his mobile set, then we could be in store for a massive offensive leap out Holmgren. And when that happens, OKC signaling rises again. Just Alexander should be a top 3 MVP candidate again, and with all of that going in the Thunder's favor, I believe they have a very real chance to win 7 games. And now we've got the Denver Nuggets also at A+. The Nuggets successfully extended their title window around the conference and fixed their biggest issue from last season, the bench unit. That unit posted a horrendous -31 net rating in the playoffs, and that proved to be their undoing. But now, with Jonas Valanciunas, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Peyton Watson being their bench crew, they've now got real stability. Combine that with the growth of the role players like Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown, 2 guys who improved significantly as three-point shooters, and Denver is more complete than ever. They also lost Michael Porter Jr., who was very inconsistent, especially in the playoffs last season, with a more steady and John. And I believe that move is really underrated as well. Don't expect Denver to be chasing for 1 seed in the regular season. They really don't do that anymore. But they've proven time and time again that they can flip the switch when it really matters. especially when we talk about the defensive side of the floor. As long as Jokic is at the helm and the starters dominate like they always do, and they now have a bench unit who's not going to bleed point, Denver is absolutely going to be right there for those bottom team as the two best teams in the NBA next season, especially once the playoffs roll around. And if you want to know which players are the most likely to carry their teams in that race, then make sure you check out the 10 most likely MVP winners in the 2026 NBA season right here in the video right now.
By yourself. I got baseline.
You know what's smart? Truffle butter filet mignon without lifting a finger. Eat smart with Factor.
These are the 10 most likely players to win the MVP next season. And starting off at number 10, I've got Donovan Mitchell. And yes, this feels like a slight drop compared to last year, where he actually finished 5th in the MVP race after leading the Cavaliers to their most successful regular season since the departure of LeBron James. That alone does make his placement feel like a downgrade, but there's a real story behind it. During the regular season, Mitchell averaged 24 points per game on 44, 37, 82 shooting splits over just 31 minutes a month. Numbers that look a lot lower than some of the other team-leading stars because